So tell us what your love life was like
Mm,
when we first came together. What were you struggling with?
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I was just choosing all the wrong people. And then going, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? Why are there no good people? How come I keep choosing the wrong people? And being really frustrated and hurt, really, in a lot of situations, and um, just didn't really know what to do. I just felt like literally there was something wrong with me.
Yeah. Yeah, we can all totally relate to that. How long were you struggling with that?
Um, Probably about 8 years. It took about that long before I really realized that something needed to be done. My my late husband had passed away, and I kind of took some time for myself, and then I started to be like, okay, I'm ready. And then I realized after a while of, several not good relationships that I'm not ready. I don't know what I'm doing. But I didn't know what was wrong. I was
Right.
really like, I just don't know. Um, so that's when I was like, I think I need help.
That's right. And that's what's really special about high achievers. Is high
Yeah.
achievers decide something is not working. I have a plan for other things in my life. I'm successful in my career. I'm successful raising children. So what is it about what's not working? Like, how do I fix it? And that's
Yeah. Because I was very happy in all the rest of my life. Like, I was happy with myself for the most part. I was happy with my career, my family, where I was living, all of that. But I just was like, I want a partner. And it was not happening. Yeah.
yeah. And what's interesting is that before you came to me, you had tried another program, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And that way, it like at least kind of opened my eyes, like, oh, maybe it's me, you know. But it wasn't really enough. It didn't really go deep enough it brought me some awareness, but it didn't really heal me in the ways that I kind of needed to heal and really see like what my behaviors and beliefs were.
Right.
Yeah.
That is the key. And I hear that so often. And so like you tried something, but that doesn't mean we give up
Right.
and we say, not in the cards for me. Right. Instead, okay, what's the next thing? What's the thing that's gonna do it? Right?
Yeah. And I was really, I very much remember that call with you when
Yeah.
I got on the call with you and I was like, but what if this doesn't work also? And you're like, it will. And I was like, okay, I'm going to trust you, Barry. And
That's
I was
right.
also determined. I was like, I'm going to make this work. Yeah.
Right. So that speaks to belief, determination, trust, being willing to trust in something different. Right?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. So tell us what were some of the big things that changed first within you that made such a big difference?
Yeah. Um, some of the, like I was mentioning, I think some of what I realized was um, that I had that belief that something was wrong with me,
Yeah.
and kind of going through the work with you to see and really look at what had happened in my childhood and my past and how I got there really helped me go like, oh, that's why. Like it wasn't a mystery. It wasn't some big curse I had over me.
Right.
It
Right.
wasn't anything actually wrong with me. It was just the way I was perceiving things.
Right.
Once I could kind of get past that, I felt like, and that, that took intention. It took, I remember we had some mantras, we had things that the homework and things were really good at practicing remembering that everything was possible and, I'm not broken. So,
Right.
yeah,
Because so often we intellectually we're like, no, I'm not broken. I'm
right.
fine. I'm worthy. But then there's a part of us that's so wounded, we're not aligned. And then we need to know how to fix that, right? How to get into
Yeah.
congruence, right?
Yeah.
Take something and you did the work. You really did. Yeah, amazing. And then how did clear path to healthy love. What do you remember? Like, how did that change your dating experience? Because we do
Oh,
both, the inner and the outer.
yeah, because I also don't think you can do what, like, you can't just do one part and then not the other, because the dating part also was super eye-opening to me about um the choices I was making, and also getting clear about what I wanted. So I think I had in my mind what I wanted, but I was making these choices that didn't line up with that, but I didn't really realize that.
Right.
Um, and it's one of those things where you just, that term, like, you accept breadcrumbs, like, oh, I got a little bit of what I want, but not everything. And so that's why it kept kind of not working out.
Right. And then, how did you feel before when you weren't getting what you wanted? Oof,
Oh, it was terrible. It
it's
was terrible.
terrible.
It was one of the hardest. I think going through that stage of my life where I was so unhappy in my love life
Yeah.
was one of the most painful times for me, because I just couldn't. I knew I wanted a relationship so much, but I couldn't get there. And I felt like I understand so much. I know how to get things done. I like, what is just eluding me? Yeah.
Right. And then you feel like I'm a good person and I have so much to offer,
Yeah.
but you can't get there.
Hmm.
It's very painful. It's really painful. And then it even spills over into other areas. Like, did you notice maybe even with the relationship with your kids, like in other areas, did you notice like not
Yeah,
feeling
I mean, I think it was always kind of in the background of my mind. I think, like, a little disappointed, or always, going to events by myself, and I'd be like, oh, I'm okay. But then really not being okay, because
yeah,
I just felt like I was lacking something.
that's right, right. And we
Yeah.
carry that and it really does affect us. So tell us what life is like now. What happens?
Oh, well, I did the dating program and I really followed your guidance. And I think that alone was kind of super life-changing, eye-opening, to be very intentional and be very open, and honest about what I was looking for. Like, and talking to people very directly about, this is what I want. I want a relationship. I want to do these things. This is what I'm about. Are you in the ballpark even? You know? And I remember people being a little put off by that sometimes, some of the people I dated. And but I even got to the point of, like, I knew pretty quickly, and I could just very, very kindly say, thank you, we're not a match, and just, like, move on. That was very empowering in
Yeah.
itself. Yeah. So, I was dating along, and I felt like I got close with a couple of people. Like, there was a couple people that I was like, oh, maybe this has potential, and then, th- one of them went sideways, and I was like, oh, okay, I guess that's not happening. Uh,
Right.
and then somewhere in there, I met Joe, who's my fiance now.
Yay.
Um, I got on the phone with him, and it was funny because he followed your rules probably even more than I did. It was like 20 minutes off the call. He before we got off the call, he made a time for us to go on the date. And I was like, okay, this is good. This is good progress, because he seems interested. We had a good connection, and he moved it forward so that I wasn't unsure. And I liked that he took action. Um,
Leadership. Now
yeah,
leadership.
yeah, he wasn't afraid. And I mean, I had been on calls with people that just talked, and you didn't know where it was going, and da 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 da. So I was like, well, you got my attention. You got my attention.
Yeah.
And we had our first date, and it went great. And I actually asked him for a second date. And he was like,
Right.
oh, you know what you want. I was like, yes, I do.
Yes.
Let's get together again. And it was nice. We dated a few times. We went on walks. We really, there was so much that we shared, our interests. Um, but I was very much like, okay, I'm just gonna see how this goes. I wasn't I think very different than I was in the past, like, oh, very hopeful and running towards something without knowing too much about who that person was, or, giving it time to kind of unfold. Um, we're both, he's turning 50 this year, and so we're in our early 50s, and we've both had previous relationships. So we were kind of like, it was okay to go slow and let that kind of build and grow. And it was the right thing for us. And then he just, I love that he's adventurous. I mean, he'll be even more adventurous than even without me. He climbs mountains literally. And but he also planned things that I was capable of doing so that we could do things together.
Yeah.
And that was big for me, like him taking initiative. I'm a planner for a job. And to have someone plan more than I do, I was like, yes. So that was wonderful.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. So how did it feel? Because we look at core values and vision, and I
Mhm.
know you live in Portland, Oregon, Pacific Northwest. I remember you had a dream of a home and all these outdoor things
Yes.
that you do with your kids. And
Yeah.
so how did it feel that you met a man that like took leadership, like was,
It was great. I mean, it took a minute for me sometimes to adjust, to remember that, like, I don't have to do all these things like I used to. And even sometimes he'd be like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I don't know. What are you doing?" So, we've had to like talk some things through and get
yeah.
used to that different dynamic. But yeah, he shared some interest with my daughter for rock climbing, and he just kept showing up. Like, he made plans to take her rock climbing and get her, a belay certificate. He made plans for us. He wanted to meet my parents before I was like, he's been very committed and upfront, where I've been like, okay, let me catch up to you. Let me catch up to you. But we've talked through that, and I think that communication has also been one of the important things for us, because as I think I healed so much in your program, I'm also have been healing with him. And that's kind of what I wanted, I wanted, because I knew I could get to my own level, but then there's another level of being with another person that is really rewarding too.
And you bring up such an important point is that our goal is to be not just in any relationship, but in a conscious relationship, right? And in a conscious relationship, most of us don't even know what that is. We've never had it. Then how do you find it? And then we're not
Really
used
see
to it,
it.
right?
Yeah, yeah. No one's role modeled that for you.
Exactly. So that's what we have to learn. Like, what is that? And how do I open my heart to that? I remember, Anita, one of the things you said about Joe early on is he asked you because he's very self-aware, right?
Mhm.
He's definitely an expansive person. Did he say something to like, how am I doing? Is there anything else I can do to make you happy?
Yeah, it was probably within the first 6 months of our relationship. And I remember we were in the car driving somewhere, and he asked me, and I just stared at him because I just was like, what? And he's like, what? And I'm like, oh, nothing really. This is amazing. I'm just so surprised that you said that, like that you were open, and um, that you cared to make me happy. And that was a really big turning point.
Really big.
Yeah.
I remember that call when you shared that, and you could see he just felt like he won the lottery, like
Yeah.
and he really wanted to take care of you, do things, build a house. And for all of you who are watching, you should see their social media. They are living their core values. They're always doing outdoor things and camping and skiing and all stuff in the snow. I live in
Mhm.
Miami, so I don't know.
Well, and he'll take me to see the cherry blossom, like he's got and the wildflowers, and it's wonderful. He likes to create traditions. He loves to include my family, and like I said, he just keeps showing up, and I'm so proud of him for that, and I'm so grateful, because that I think, when we did our vision board and wrote down what we wanted and needed in a relationship, that was it.
That was it.
Yeah.
And it's always surprising. I just remember I didn't even say to you, you're not used to being taken care of, right? You're
Mhm.
not used to someone taking care of you.
Yes. Yeah. And it's
Oh,
funny because just this weekend, I had a head cold, and I haven't been sick in years. And it was
yeah.
weird. I'm just like, oh yeah, I forgot how much this sucks. And he was like making me soup, and what can I get for you? I'll let me empty the dishwasher, just little things, but they actually mean so much to me. And so I said to him at night, I said, thank you for taking care of me. And I really appreciate it. And he goes, I will always take care of you. And yeah, it was another one of those moments of like, okay, I'm making a good decision here. I'm
Oh,
making a good decision, like
oh,
this
yes.
is a very good person.
Very
I'm
good.
happy.
Aligned person too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And your kids. So tell us about getting engaged.
So I think, we had been dating for about a year, and he kind of hinted around to it. And I was like, whoa, we're no rush. And we had been talking about, getting a house together this summer. And so I thought maybe it might come up again. And we ended up going on a trip that we were invited on to Hawaii. And for a couple weeks before, I thought like, oh, maybe he would say something there, but I don't know. That would just be a cool place. And I kind of just forgot about it in the like getting there and doing stuff. And like we had a whole day where we were on a road trip on the island, and went to like a botanical garden, and he kept going like, we have to get to this beach. And I was like, okay. Because we love to watch sunsets, especially on the beach, of course.
Yeah.
So it was another one. And I was like, okay, and I'm like looking at all the stuff in the sand. He's like, come on, come on. I'm like, what? And we find this great spot. And he was kind of agitated because some people came by. And I'm like, why? What? Who cares? But we were on these rocks looking at the sunset. And, we took a couple selfies and whatever. But he kept kind of like walking around me. And I'm like, what's going on? And I was just looking off at the sun and the water. And all of a sudden I hear him go, babe. And I was like, what? And he was down on his knee, and I just knew, and I was just like, oh my God, in shock. And he like handed me the ring and was like, I want to ask you, will you marry me? And I just was stunned, and surprised, but like super happy. And it was just like this perfect moment. I just felt like he really did it, he put all that effort in. And then he started telling me that he had talked to my parents a few weeks before. He had talked to my kids, and he had been planning it for 2 months, and I had no idea. And it just it really, like, I don't know, my heart was so full because of thinking about how much effort and thought he put into it. Um, and he knows that I love surprises, so it was like the best surprise ever. Yeah, it was fantastic.
We knew from the beginning he's a really good man.
Yeah.
Really
Yeah. I
good.
think probably I will say there were little parts of me that were always like, oh, I don't know, I don't know. But I kept looking at them and going, okay, like, is that your fear, or is it something you really need to address? And it almost always was just my fear. So
Yeah.
yeah, I feel very good now.
And it sounds like your kids must be so happy for you.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they're so used to him, now that it's like, okay, yep, great. I think the same thing, like everyone expected it except for me. Just hilarious.
Oh, well, we see Christmas together and family things and your parents.
Yeah.
That is so heartwarming. So now you're in this totally different reality and paradigm with a loving partner. Yeah. Oh my God.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. So beautiful. So you have so much to look forward to. Yeah. So what would you tell the people that are watching?
Mm,
What piece of advice would you give them about making the investment in themselves, both doing the work and financially?
yeah. I mean, I remember I hesitated a little bit because I had already invested a little bit before in that other class, and then I was like, I'm going to do it again. But I something told me like this is super important to me. Like I said, like it was the part of my life that was the most painful,
Yeah.
and why would I not give that to myself? I've invested in other things, homes and whatever.
Right.
But this was like the thing that mattered the most to me. So why would I not give it that attention? And
Right.
I'm really, really glad I did.
I'm so glad you did.
Yeah.
Um, my heart is so overflowing for you guys.
Thank
Always cheering for you, seeing your pictures, and this is really what it's about. And that investment, now you have a whole life to look forward to because your kids, they'll be in college soon, right?
Yeah, my son's working full time, and then my daughter will start college in the fall.
Right.
So yeah, it's not lost on me that, the timing is right. Like I invested in myself so that when they're moving on with their lives, I'm not in that state of like, oh, I'm alone. That was really, really important for me.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I'm so glad I did the program. And I don't even think about what I spent. That doesn't mean anything to me because now I have my whole future, my life changed. My life completely changed. So who cares how much?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Right. You're worth it. And the ROI is joy, is connection, is
Yeah.
what we had. Oh, that is so amazing, Anita.
Yeah.
Well, we're so excited for you. Me and Mike, we're watching you, and
Thank you.
I'm gonna show people some of the photos that we'll put in. And
Great.
yeah. So again, thank you so much for sharing with us and send Joe our best. And we can't wait to
No,
meet in person and
that
just
would be
celebrate
fun.
all your milestones.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
thank you to you, Barry. Like I think about the program, your wisdom, the guidance you gave me. I remember once you even said to me, like, you're not settled. It was like that last little piece, and you said, you're not settled. And it just like clicked and I settled. And then I don't think it was another week or two after that that he came into my life. So thank you.
Oh, you're
I'm
so
grateful.
welcome.